today's video we're going to be talking about a potential major snowstorm in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley, as well as multiple big cooldowns on the way for the eastern half of the nation. Now, before we get into things, be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the description, pinned comment, and the top right corner of your screen. We do weather consulting for businesses and individuals alike. We do a lot of consulting calls, consulting emails, consulting texts, and we have an exclusive community for you guys for weather consulting. It's all for only $5 a month, and we're actually running a promotion right now for Black Friday. If you put in the code DIRECT at checkout, you will get your first month for only $1. Be sure to check it out today. Now, due to extremely popular demand, we are extending that promo for Prestige Weather all the way until December 8th, so be sure to redeem your first month for only 99 cents. Let's dive into things, and we are taking a look here first off at our European model. This is going to be a very late night special, by the way. This video is coming out extremely late to you guys, but I wanted to make sure I got some content out because there is a lot to discuss today. I'm very excited to do that. By the time we're taking a look at tomorrow afternoon, we're just going to dive straight ahead because why not, right? Already Monday afternoon is over and likely most of the evening will be over, so let's dive straight into Tuesday. And initially, right, when we look at things here, the jet stream is already very interesting, doing a deep dive over the east here. So our first trough that we're discussing here today, or big cool down in other words, in the east is actually happening immediately. We have cooler than normal temperatures over a lot of the eastern states. And we have this surging ridge over the west. When you see this big ridge in the west, it's called a positive PNA. That stands for Pacific North American Oscillation, and all you really need to know is this means a surging warm bubble over the western areas of North America. And the cold air that would be over the west here is now forced to move eastward, and it digs deep down south because of that. It's overflowing with cold air here in the east, and this is why we likely see air masses like this oftentimes. Not a whole lot to discuss. We have some showery activity both in the form of snowfall and rainfall here over the Ohio Valley. And then over the northwest, we see a little bit more of a major storm system, but still nothing too crazy. Mostly rainfall in the southern areas. And then up there for the mountainous regions of western Canada, we are seeing quite a bit of snowfall there. Let's keep going forward, though. We're going to move towards Wednesday afternoon here, and we see that this ridge is now a lot more expansive, a lot wider. And then we see this thinner trough in the east, and this one is going to basically move out after this point. You can see that it's very thin at this point. The warm air is expanding eastward, and it is going to replace this trough over time. We do have a nor'easter along this area of cold air, but it's too far offshore to impact the coast. So we were very close to seeing something line up there, but just didn't end up happening that way. Let's take this all the way towards Thursday afternoon, and now we're starting to see some more major storms. Again, we saw that cold air mass begin to lift off at this point. We do see a little bit more of a colder air mass for the west and a little bit more of a ridge here in the east. This is about what we're seeing from the jet stream. And then we have a low pressure system here over North Dakota, 995 millibar low pressure center, likely forcing a lot of this to happen with a warm front and cold front. Low precipitation, though, not really seeing much precip along those areas that happen sometimes. We do see behind all of this some pretty major impacts for the Northwest. Heavier snowfall for the Cascade Mountains and the Northern Rockies there. And then for lower elevation areas, we are seeing more rainfall, of course. I want to take this all the way towards Friday here on December 8th, and we do see that this is now a 990 millibar low pressure center over northern Minnesota, and this is featuring some snowfall on the northern and western fronts of that storm. Over the west for the mountainous regions, we do see snow showers left over in this cold air mass, but they're pretty light and pretty sporadic. Keep that in mind as well. Let's take this towards Saturday on the 9th here of December. And this is when we begin to see our major snowstorm develop. And everything kind of happens in the south to begin with. We see somewhat of a low trying to develop maybe over kind of the Texarkana area there. We see that the cold is really, really digging deep here. And then we see this kind of sharp climb here on the eastern edge of things. This cold air is going to continue to try to push eastward. This low pressure system is going to continue to move up, and you can see that they're going to move towards each other. We're going to see a lot of interaction here, and that is what is going to lead towards this major winter storm. Now, keep in mind as well that as we have this happening, we also have our next major storm system moving onshore to the northwest here. Washington and Oregon so far in the Cascade Mountains, seeing some heavy snowfall as a result of this, and also heavy rainfall in those lower elevation and coastal areas. We're going to take this actually hour by hour now. We can see that low really develops by the time we're reaching 8 p.m. on Saturday there over Arkansas. That's now 1,005. It's going to go a lot lower than that, so let's keep going. And we see it's all the way down to a 996 by the time we're reaching about maybe 3 or 4 a.m. here, and it's located over eastern Arkansas now. We are starting to see some snowfall mix in here now for Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. So this is a very far southern snowfall event to begin things out. And I think that this is a good time to mention to you guys that during El Ninos, and we are in a very strong one, I have kind of noted, me and my business partner as well within Prestige Weather have noted that during El Nino years, stranger winter storms tend to happen in these years compared to La Niñas. I don't know what it is exactly, but we tend to see these oddball areas see early season snowfall, or even areas that it's odd to see snowfall at all. They tend to see them in years like this more than opposed to La Nina years. So I think that that does have some backing here for this storm. I still want you guys to take this with a grain of salt as it is over 5 days out, especially for, again, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, as this is beginning to look a little bit abnormal here. We're going to continue to keep you guys up to date with this, and I'm not saying this is impossible, but we want to take it with a grain of salt for sure, as it is a little bit more odd seeming. By the time we're looking at about 2 p.m. here on Sunday, December 10th, we see a 988 millibar low pressure center. So this one is deep diving. We see it over Kentucky. And now the jet stream is looking very interesting. We do have some warmth there for the northwest. It does a little bit of an inversion here and then moves out like this. So likely we have a cold front here on this bulging area to the south of that low. And then for this kind of bowed out area over the north, that's likely our warm front. Now this is so strangely S-curved. It is very extreme here, something like this, to the point that we are seeing some warm air intrude on these more northern areas and more cold air intrude on these southern areas. This is why we're seeing Arkansas and Missouri seeing snowfall, but Illinois and Indiana seeing rainfall at this point. Now, we will see this really begin to switch to a more wintry storm as we reach the overnight hours. This is by time we're taking a look at about 8 p.m. there on Sunday, and we're seeing more snowfall. Definitely a lot more by 2 a.m. here on Monday, December 11th. It's down to a 983 millibar low pressure center there over western Pennsylvania. And we're seeing snowfall for a lot of Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan in particular here. Very, very heavy snowfall as it is a major storm. And then by the time we're reaching about 8 a.m. here, this is the look. And then by the time we're reaching 2 p.m., we see still some wintry precipitation over the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. I want to note this now that we are right now looking for businesses to do commercial consulting with in this particular area, the Ohio Valley, Upper Midwest, and Great Lakes regions. So if you're a snow removal company or if you do work in the outdoors at all, let us help you. You can follow the link in the description pinned comment of this video and sign up today by sending us an email, and we'll get in contact with you as soon as possible. This is a particular area that's looking to be impacted by this major storm, and we are doing services for you guys out there. So definitely reach out if that is something that you guys need, or at least let's have an exploratory conversation. I would certainly see how that would be beneficial for both parties to see if we can come to an agreement that is favorable for both sides. Let's keep going, and we see this does come to an end by the time we're reaching about Monday kind of evening time frame. It's down to a 972 millibar low pressure center here over eastern Canada. I do want to note that this is kind of going backwards, but the snowfall in this area, I do have some concerns for rain being a big factor and mixing in for a lot of areas. This is right on the fence of being a very major snowfall event or being a snowfall event that really struggles to turn over to snowfall. It's right on the fence, and I certainly see some potential for mixing issues. It is very far out, so we still have a lot of time for things to change. But as of now, it seems like it's going to be a very warm snowstorm. And what I mean by that is mixing will certainly be an issue if it looks anything like this model's projection. Let's keep going with this European model and take note that we see a ridge over the west and cold air really linger over the east after this storm is said and done. So this storm is going to give way to some very cold air that wants to stick around all the way through the end of the model run here. As you can see, by the time we're reaching the 14th, 15th, we still have a very deep trough in the east and potentially another winter storm here shaping up to bring impacts to the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes. So we'll be watching for that over the coming days as well. Let's take a look at this American GFS model, and I want to take us all the way to the storm. We've already kind of seen everything before it. This one shows a lot more of an upper Midwest type solution. This low is located over central Illinois on this model. And we see most of our snowfall for Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Much more wintry on this one as well. Eventually, Chicago gets into the mix with very heavy snowfall and even deep south into Illinois and Indiana. Very strong storm, very similar here to the European model. The only difference is that this is a couple hundred miles further west. So both models have the storm. That seems like a pretty sure thing. We're about 80% confident here that this storm will happen to some extent. The location is really what we have to nail down, and that's pretty realistic and pretty on par with what we've seen in years past from these models at about the 5 to 7 day range here. So I expect that we will be hammering down a much more likely scenario here over the coming days here ahead. Let's keep going with this, and we see that this does bring snowfall to a lot of different areas. We will take a look at the total snowfall on both of those models in just a moment, but I want to move even further forward because on this model, we actually get another very similar storm to that later on down the road here. We see it shaping up here. It is pretty different as it is kind of coming from the north. It has two lows associated with it, but Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then eventually Illinois, Indiana, Ohio start to get involved here as it moves further and further east, and even parts of the Northeast from that one. It is very far out again, so take it with a grain of salt. I think the biggest takeaway here is that these models are showing consistent snowstorms in these areas, and that is the pattern that they're going to find us in. So that is the biggest takeaway here that you can definitely think about. I think that the specifics here of this second storm is just too far out to go over. And look, we get a third storm just like that. So definitely looking like the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes are going to start to get very active, as well as the Northeast on the back end of these storms, according to this GFS model. Total precipitation, just to go over it real quick, we do have above average precipitation there in the Northwest, and then most of the East as a result of these storms that we saw today. Let's take a look here at the total snowfall. Obviously a lot for the Rockies and Cascades. We're going to really just glance past that because this is getting towards the time of year where that's a given. I mostly want to draw your attention here to Arkansas through Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan here where that major snowstorm takes place. Anywhere in the grays is a dusting, if anything. Blues are 2 to 6 inches, purples are 6 to 10, and then our pinks are 10 to 20 there. So certainly a major snowstorm with 10-inch plus amounts is expected according to the European model, which is the one we're taking a look at right now. Let's go ahead and take a look here at our GFS model's opinion of this, and I want to take us back to where only the first storm has happened. Here we go. So we see, again, very heavy amounts, but pretty exclusive there for Michigan, Wisconsin, and Illinois there. But again, there's a lot of room for this storm to move around, look more intense, look colder over the next few days, as there is still about 5 or 6 days to go until this storm starts. So we're going to start to really focus on the specifics in a few days from now. The biggest takeaway here is that both models have this storm. It's likely this storm is going to happen, but the location can change significantly over the next few days, and that's why it's going to be so important to track this daily with us. So be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.